Wow, bro. Oh my goodness. I feel like this is a good time to take a quote out of Stephen A. Smith's book. His very first move as the executive was to trade Jordan Poole for Chris Paul. Now, there's obviously just a bunch of things that just don't make sense about this whatsoever. I feel like the main part that just doesn't make sense is the fact that they're not planning, according to Marcus Thompson, the Warriors are not planning on moving on from Chris Paul or using him in some sort of other package to maybe acquire someone else like Paul George or something like that. That name's been thrown around a couple times throughout the last couple weeks. He is apparently going to be staying on the team, which makes this one of the most confusing moves that I have ever seen in my entire life, because you trade Jordan Poole. While yes, I have had some moments where I've been disappointed or like frustrated with Jordan Poole. I made a whole video about that kind of blew up. I still acknowledged in that video, by the way, which a bunch of people did not catch, I still acknowledge the fact that he's still a good player. Like the player that we saw in his third season that is the reason why he got this huge contract in the first place, that player is still there somewhere, and he still showed that player in specific circumstances, like in specific lineups or whether he was starting or whatnot. But it was just the fact that he was so inconsistent that was the frustrating part, and the fact that he was so reliant on scoring that's really all he provided most of the time. So when you have a situation where he is not the first option, he's gonna look worse, and that's what we saw throughout the entire playoffs. But I still thought that even though he was probably still gonna be overpaid next year and the seasons after, like I was still under the assumption that he could have spent the 2023 offseason maybe working on something else to give him more value, maybe working on defense, or like even though he's not the biggest player, he still can improve on defense, because his problem that I've talked about before is just falling asleep at times. So even if he just learns how to play passing lanes and things like that, that's what Steph was doing back before he put on all the extra weight and extra muscle and became the really good on-ball defender that we know him to be right now. Like he could have just done that and he could have been a more valuable player. Obviously there's other things that he could have done, but that is just one thing that comes to mind. Now you trade him away right before this big contract is about to hit. It sort of makes sense from a money perspective, which is what I sort of thought this deal was when it first came out. I was like, okay, this is confirming to me that they're keeping Draymond Green because they're trying to find a way to make the money work, because they were already way over the cap last season, and that was with Jordan Poole still making $3.8 million. Now he's making 28. So like in my mind, it was pretty much guaranteed that, okay, this is like a salary dump situation. They're not gonna keep Chris Paul, or they're gonna do something. But now you have Chris Paul's contract, which at the moment he currently is guaranteed $15.8 million for next season, and the next season after that is not guaranteed at all, so they can just waive him after that and not really have to deal with that. But the thing about this season is that the $15.8 million turns into $30.8 million on June 28th. So what that basically now just means that the entire money situation that I was thinking of is now completely in the garbage, because now you have Chris Paul that is about to make $2 million more than what Jordan Poole would have made next season anyway, and he's doing that while not really fitting with the team's play style, while being injury prone, while being 38 turning 39 years old next season. Like, I don't understand what this move is going to accomplish, because like I said before, Marcus Thompson has already said that the Warriors are planning on keeping him, which at this point I don't even know what to believe anymore, because Mike Dunleavy came out and said that Jordan Poole was going to be with the team for the next 4 years at least, and they traded him 3 days after he said that. And so I have no idea what's going on. I don't know what this team is planning on moving forward. I don't know what the Draymond Green contract is going to look like. I don't know if he's even staying at this point. Like, I don't know what's going on. Everything is just a big question mark at this point. But I guess we will just take the time to now move on to Jordan Poole's new future with his new team in the Washington Wizards, who are very much in rebuild mode, and that was clear the second that they traded Bradley Beal, and the fact that they didn't really get anything of value in return. They got Landry Shamet in return and a couple second round picks. So like, you get that in return for someone who's about to make $46 million next season. Like, that's not ideal. Well, not ideal. That's Okay, let me be actually not be nice about that. That's a terrible return for someone who's about to make $46.7 million. And so you have that whole situation, and then you have the whole fiasco with Porzingis and whatever the hell that was, with the Celtics losing Marcus Smart. It's like a dude that nobody thought would ever get traded from that franchise. And so they were very obviously going into full rebuild mode, and everybody kind of understood that. And so now it looks like they're going the route of building around Jordan Poole for the future, which, I mean, it definitely could work, because now he is in a situation that I feel benefits him the most, where he's the primary ball handler. And so now when you have Jordan Poole in that position now, it definitely could make for an interesting situation, because I feel like this is known by everybody at this point, but Jordan Poole is obviously a much better player when he is given the freedom to do whatever he wants. And that's been cleared pretty much from his third season or so, when he started breaking out. Whenever he was on the floor and Steph wasn't, it was like watching a completely different player. Like he looked like an all-star at points, but obviously with having Steph on the floor, he's not given that type of freedom, because Steph is obviously the best player on the team and the franchise player. And so we would see his numbers drastically fall off whenever he wasn't in that position. So now that he's being given the freedom to kind of do whatever he wants, that is going to be really good for him. And whether it is going to lead to wins, I have no idea, because like I said before, the Wizards are rebuilding. And so it may not lead to wins right away. It very much could be the same situation as someone like Jeremy Grant, for example, who was traded to the Detroit Pistons a couple seasons ago, and his numbers were inflated, but obviously it didn't lead to anything of value because he was on the Detroit Pistons. So it very much could be something along those lines, but obviously we'll have to wait and see to kind of figure out what the team around him is going to look like in the coming seasons. But that is going to be interesting to look at. I wish him nothing but the best, even though I've been called a Jordan Poole hater in the past for some of the things that I've said about him, some of the videos that I made. But I think people kind of gloss over the fact that, like, I was critical of him because we were in a win now situation, but I still understood that he was a player that brought value to the team. Like, he was still a good player that I enjoyed watching a lot of the time. It's just that there are some things that I have criticisms of, and criticism does not equal hate. Let's get that out of the way. But again, wish him nothing but the best. I now have to root for Chris Paul to win a ring on my team, and so we will see how that plays out. But with all that being said, I want to know what you guys thought about this trade. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new, hit the bell to be notified when I upload, comment down below what you want to see next, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.